folks, Kieran here again. Hope you're all good. Thought I'd do a quick video. I always say it's going to be a quick video. It doesn't stop me rambling on and on, saying it's going to be a quick video. About this debt money creation business. Basically, the issue I'm talking about here is how, like, where the new money all comes from in the economy. We can all remember, if you're old enough, you can remember when there's far less money around. You know, people basically, we usually say it's inflation that causing this, but also there has to be new money coming from somewhere, because there's a lot more pounds in the British economy than there were. And I know the government creates some, but so I've heard the banks kind of do sort of create money, and but I always get kind of confused when I think about how they create money and what we should do about it policy-wise. I mean, if if this money creation isn't happening in a good way, then what's the alternative to what we have? So yeah, it's an issue I've always been confused by, because I'm not quite sure what is happening. I'm not quite sure whether it should be changed or how it should be changed, because it's all very confusing, obscure kind of economics stuff. I read a book, I think it was about 10 years ago now. Sorry, I've frog in my throat here. By a bloke called Michael Rowbotham, spell it, called The Grip of Death. It should have been called perhaps The Grip of Debt, since it was all about debt. But anyway, it was a book about this business, and it was claiming, it was following on from the thinking of someone called C.H. Douglas, who was, I think was around working in the 1930s on this issue, and basically saying that pardon me, the banks are create money basically, but it is created as debt. So, but this causes huge problems, because there's like we all owe. I mean, the amount of money that's owed to the banks is similar to the total amount of money in the economy. It's really sort of slowing the economy down, it reckons. And also, yeah, we got this interest payments. So I don't feel it's quite that bad, but I find it hard to kind of prove what I'm saying. I mean, most of us it's a good point. Maybe this money being owed to the banks does really cock things up. What I think is more definitely a problem is that the banks creating money leads to a situation where, if the banks are kind of booming, if the economy is booming, they're going to lend out more money, and this will create more money, which will then boost the economy. Whereas in like shit times, the banks are going to be really not wanting to lend, but this is going to reduce the amount of money being injected into the economy, which will slow the economy down. So I think having banks creating the money would certainly have this effect of making the business cycles more extreme, which sounds like quite a bad thing. Very briefly, for people who haven't heard these kind of arguments at all, basically the way it seems to work is that when the banks lend out some money to someone, then that becomes money which ends up quickly going into another bank or the same bank, and then they lend out more money against that, and that's how most of the money is being generated. I believe that is the case. So the answer is some kind of serious restrictions on banking rules to make it so that they can't really lend out money against money they have. They have to, if they're going to lend out, if I put £5 in the bank, if they're going to lend that money out, they've got to kind of ask me if I want to lend it out, sort of thing, and basically the money would have to disappear from my account temporarily while it's being loaned out, and then when it's paid back, it comes back into my account. They have to have pretty harsh rules like that. You can still have loans, but you can have like funds, which basically companies that hold a whole lot of money and are constantly lending some of it out and getting more back. You can still do that, but the company that does that would have to have the money. They can't just be like a bank who's sitting on all the money, basically holding the money of most ordinary people, and then somehow being able to lend against that. We would have to create more money to kind of keep up with inflation, otherwise we get deflation. Not keep up with inflation, keep up with the increasing amount of products being created each year, keep up with growth, perhaps I should say. But the way to do that is if we can have an unconditional income from the government. So the government pays us. If they're going to create some more money, we'll get paid it equally, and that will be just as good at injecting energy into the economy as giving it or allowing the banks to create it as loans. So those are my thoughts. It's a confusing issue. I'm confused by it, but the little I know about it, it does sound like this debt creation of money by banks is problematic, and the solution that I just suggested sounds pretty reasonable to me. All the best. And if anybody thinks of a way of creating money out of thin air legally, please let me know. All the best.